Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of our Mental Health Awareness, right here at selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Krista Sammie. We've got a lot to talk about today. She says gut-brain axis. Well, what does that mean? Well, why is taking care of your gut good for your mental health? Well, did you know that 60 to 90% of your feel-good neurotransmitters are produced in your gut? So how do you feel? It's not just in your head, but more likely what's going on in your gut. Being mindful of the foods that you can eat and what you can put in your body is important, but it's a good part of having good gut health care. But there's so much more to it. The summary of the key neurotransmitters and their function: dopamine affects your emotions, especially the feelings of happiness and joy. Endorphins interact with the opaque receptors in the brain to reduce your perception of pain. Oxytocin is known as the love transmitter that promotes connectedness. And this other one is going to be very difficult for me to pronounce. Neopinephrine has meditative focus and attention. Serotonin regulates anxiety and can affect mood, appetite, and sleep. And if your gut is unhealthy because of acute or chronic stress, diet, or frequent antibiotic use, you may notice a part of your mental health, is really going to impact it. So how do you know what your gut and your mental health is doing? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Krista is a mental wellness expert who helps individuals end burnout, level up their life, and create abundance, doing things differently with purpose and meaning and intention at the forefront of all that she does. After 17 years of the corporate world, she left the pharmaceutical healthcare sales to do something different, not only professionally, but personally. What began as trying a holistic approach to her mental health grew into Krista finding a mission and a movement bigger than herself, which ultimately led her to the mental wellness business. She shares her experience with bipolar to destigmatizing mental health disorders. And as a mental health advocate and speaker, she inspires others with their message of hope and healing, and how success entirely possible even with a mental health condition. Today, she is a successful business and she helps high performers elevate their mental wellness via the gut-brain axis. She also leads a large team of wellness partners, and together they're helping others discover their different steps into their strengths and passions and grow into their higher selves. There is that old adage thing, what you eat is who you are. Right? So
That's what they say.
yep. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Your words, but it is very, very true, isn't it? Is that we think that mental wellness is all in the head. And really, it's a huge indication that there is an awful lot out of sync within the body and the heart and the soul. And if we don't put things in alignment, we're going to be out of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And gut health is something I've battled with for many, many, many years with IBS. It is a constant vigilance on, what you can eat and what you can't eat and how it's affecting you and everything else. And people just shove food in their mouths without really understanding what it's doing and the effect that it's having on their mental awareness, and that sluggishness and that tiredness and lethargy that goes along with it. Why am I feeling this way? I wonder. So, my dear, gut brain axis. Tell us exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's first just the bigger picture, like when we feel like we've messed up or we're afraid, or on the positive side, when we have butterflies in our stomach because we're in love or something good is happening, those are all like gut responses. And our gut plays such a huge role in not communication with our whole body. So literally the gut brain axis is your gut is like your digestive parts of your body, small intestine, large intestine, your stomach, even your gallbladder. And so that's all considered your gut or your microbiome. And then obviously we have the brain where we think, oh, if you're having a mental health struggle, it's all in your head, right? But it's not. It's our gut. And then it's the access in between. So the gut actually communicates more with the brain versus the other way around.
Mm.
So the gut is constantly sending signals via this axis or the vagus nerve. So it's sending signals back to the brain. So, like you said in the introduction, when the gut is out of balance, if we're not eating right, if we've had a lot of antibiotics in the past, the microbiome might be unbalanced, therefore making us feel tired or lethargic, um, anxious feelings, tension, stress. All of these things are a sign that the gut could be out of balance.
Take it from me, folks.
IBS, right?
Yeah, and it can throw you completely out of balance. Um, having an IBS attack, you feel flattened afterwards. You feel exhausted, and it's like, well, why should you feel so exhausted? But you feel drained, and that kind of you can let depression in on that because it really can take you there. Nowadays I found ways of getting around that, but it really can flatten you, and you go, well, why? Just having a little bit of diarrhea can do that. No, folks, it does. And this is why we really need to pay attention on the balancing of our gut, because we don't want it to affect the performance of our lives.
Absolutely. I mean, and the thing that's interesting is that I didn't really start focusing on the whole like diet and what I was putting in my mouth until after I rebalanced my microbiome and really worked on the healing of that. Because honestly, when you're anxious or stressed or tired, you don't go and reach for a salad. You go and reach for like a bag of chips or some chocolate, right?
Yes.
But once you start feeling better and you feel things working in your favor, then it's like, okay, what I put in my body is important and I'm going to feed it some good, healthy diet versus the other stuff.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I
mhm.
mean, but let's look at our wildlife. Look at elephants, all these beautiful big creatures, and they don't eat other flesh. They're eating greenery, and look at the size and the healthiness that they are. And it's like we have more access to food today than ever in history, but it doesn't mean all of that food should be accessed.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you a vegetarian?
I'm a vegetarian. I do eat fish. So I eat fish now and again. At home, I am pretty well 90% even vegan. But I
Oh,
have like a 20% when I go out, I'll have some fish, occasionally maybe a piece of chicken, but that's about it.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I see the value and I see how that would be the really good diet. So I'm moving towards that, but I haven't completely given up the meat.
Right. I've done the 80-20, and a lot of it is the consciousness too, because there are so many alternatives today. We don't need to kill animals to eat.
Mhm.
So there's so much other alternative out there. And also when you think about it, do we need it really? And we talk about protein, but what we're not really educated in is there's protein in many other things. you know
Yeah, very
and
true.
so we can get, we can't use that, we can't use any of that as an excuse anymore. But I think it's also eating for your gut. I
Hmm.
have extra long intestines, so that means the digestive system is going to be longer,
Hmm.
right? So that means you've got to eat foods that aren't going to kind of ferment and blow you up
Right?
while they're digesting. So uh, you've got to know your body, which means also the mind is listening to the gut,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
listen to the mind. It will tell you what the gut's saying. The gut will tell
Yeah,
you also.
because everybody's body is different. And if you
Yes.
do that and you tune in to what your body needs, and for me, it's eating small meals throughout the day. Like I
Yeah.
have to have a little snack and things like that. My blood sugar is regulated and stuff. So everybody is a little bit different, but just being mindful about what you are putting in your mouth is this fuel? Is this something that's going to help me? And, that piece of chocolate like may taste good in the moment, but then you have like a sugar crash or.
Right. Or go for the dark chocolate.
Right.
Right, which is healthier for you. You can actually get some fabulous chocolate that's healthy for you. I did a show on it, shamanic chocolate. It tastes absolutely
Oh.
wonderful. The purity of it is absolutely fabulous, and really one or two pieces is all you need to completely, hit that craving. And it's got so many good nutrients in there that it's actually totally guilt-free chocolate. So you don't have to deprive yourself. You just have to look at other ways that you can eat it, that
Mm-hmm.
it's a healthier way of eating.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Now, a lot of people just, I just don't know why my brain is not engaged. I just can't seem to switch on. And I feel so sluggish. And
Mm-hmm.
that very much is the gut and the head kind of saying,
Oh
wrong
yeah.
fuel, wrong fuel.
Yeah, and a lot of times people walk around and think having quote unquote brain fog is
Mm,
just part of like, oh, I'm getting older, I have brain fog. My mind isn't as clear, I kind of forget things here and there. And I thought that was the case with me too. Like I'm 46 now, and before I started on the gut brain access supplements, I would like just wake up in the morning and like literally like don't talk to me until I've had my first cup of coffee, and then I could think clearly. But now when I've optimized my gut brain access, like I have so much more mental clarity, mental focus. It was almost like putting glasses on for the first
mm.
time where you're like, oh, like this is what the world is supposed to look like. It doesn't have to be foggy and cloudy, and but you don't know. You just start walking around thinking this is my normal.
Right, exactly. If that's the way you've been, that's the way you think it is. And when suddenly as you say, put on those right glasses and you can see the world, what am I be missing out on? Right.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of it. You have bipolar, which with a lot of that is most certainly balancing everything in your body, right? The neurons and everything else to keep an
Mm-hmm.
equilibrium. And when you look at what you do for bipolar, in many ways, it's what we really need to do for our general mental health, isn't it?
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, bipolar is unique in the sense that, for me at least, it responds really well to like mood stabilizers because I have had this for about 20 years now. And the first time when it sort of like presented itself, it was in a what's called a manic episode.
Mm,
So I lost touch with reality. I went and spent a bunch of money. I did
mm,
like all kinds of crazy things that I wouldn't have normally done. And so it was evident that I had the bipolar because my dad also had it as well.
mm.
So I've done really well on mood stabilizer medications, things like lithium and stuff. But it's definitely a balance and it has its triggers. Stress is a big, big
Yes.
trigger. And if I have to get really good sleep every night. So like if I go out of town or something and like my sleep gets off, I don't become manic, but I just don't feel good the next day. So sleep and stress are like my two triggers that I have to watch really closely.
As far as I'm concerned, I think stress, which creates anxiety, which creates depression very often, which creates fear, is so very crippling. And it also creates dis-ease. And,
Yeah.
because when the body is so utterly stressed and anxious and living in that state all the time, it's going to throw everything out of balance. And the body doesn't, it's like it's juggling so many balls and it doesn't know how to find, you know, catch them to bring the equilibrium back. So really, I think one of our key things is managing our stress level, isn't it?
Yeah. And did you know that like our stress hormone, cortisol, is majority of it is in the gut?
Mm,
So if you again, if your gut is not in sync, is not where it needs to be, it's you're going to have a lot of stress. And
yes.
like right now we are in the midst of moving. We're just going one town over, but everything is packed up and they say that stress or that moving is right up there with death and divorce. And I mean obviously I've my husband I mean my I've experienced death with my parents, but like never divorced, thank goodness. But they say that's like so stressful and I'm literally like so surprised at myself because I am a little stressed, but not like I would normally be. So like I've been taking my supplements regularly, especially right now because of this very stressful time. And my psychiatrist, I actually had a virtual appointment with him last week. And I'm always, nudging at him like, hey, I'm doing really well in these supplements. Can you continue to lower my medications? Which he's done. Like ever since starting the supplements, my medications have come down by like 50%. Well, right in the midst of moving, and I told him I was moving, we had a chat last week on a virtual appointment. He actually lowered my main medication again, right in the midst of moving. So he is obviously seeing how balanced I've become by optimizing my gut-brain axis with the supplements.
Yes. And, supplements, I take stacks every day. And, I have medication and I go to medication when I know I need it. I'm asthmatic, so that is the one thing that is every single day. But the other thing is as I need it, I don't take it all the time. I use my supplements the best way I can to balance. But, you talk about the anxiety and the cortisol being in the stomach. My head can rationalize and deal with anything. Throw anything at me and I can deal with it. I'm just those kind of people. It goes straight to my gut. Right? Straight to my gut. All the anxiety, all the worry, all the fear, everything goes straight to my gut. So I can go from a flat gut to pregnant gut filled with anxiety, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Not that I have a flat gut now, not after COVID. I'm wishing.
But our gut is so important. It gets rid of all the waste that we don't need in our body. But yeah, it's pretty powerful. And we just had a LinkedIn Live. Our show this week was all about stress and a 3-part approach to managing stress resilience. So my stress resilience is much higher now that my gut brain axis is optimized. Like I can literally handle more stress than what I used to be able to handle. So there's something to be said about, stress resilience as a result of taking good care of your gut.
Because my head can take things in stride, sometimes my only indicator that something is wrong is my gut. Because, the head is like just another thing, I can get a bit pissed off about it, but that's all right. Move on. But my gut is the one has the reaction.
Yeah.
So then, how do you deal with that? And it's like, it's already reacting. So then you have to really kind of have a conversation with your gut, don't you?
You do. You got to, our LinkedIn Live show is called Gut Check, Mind Check. Like check your gut and then check your mind.
Yeah. Because, I think my mind kind of gives all my anxiety to my gut, right? And then when the gut gets really overstressed out, then it affects my mind. So, there is that correlation there, and it's having to have that chat of, okay, say the words that you need to say to release that emotion. All right.
Yeah.
And then
words
let it
are
go.
Powerful.
Yes. And sometimes when something goes wrong, I'm inclined to just, okay, move on. But sometimes you really need to have a little closure on something or express a feeling. So find ways to express it, to spend it. Otherwise, it's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And affect you in other ways, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I got to be careful sometimes the words that I speak, like saying, oh, I'm so stressed from this move. And it's like, no, maybe it's not that. Maybe I can use a different word, because
yes. Yeah.
words
okay,
are powerful.
A move is challenging, but I'm handling it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Reframe it.
Yes, reframe it. And that's, I think, a huge thing with, a self-talk. I'm guilty of the negative self-talk.
We all are.
Yeah, exactly. And it's part of kind of the way society has brought us up. Who do you think you are? Stop talking so positively about yourself, you're vain. And so we can talk negatively about ourselves all day long, and that seems to be okay. No, it isn't, folks. No, it isn't. And if you catch yourself saying that, we've got to remember words have energy.
Yeah.
Right. And so that word that you're feeding out there is a negative energy that's going to come back on you. So it is, be kinder to yourself with kinder words.
Yeah, it's all about, pain is temporary. Like anxiety, if you're having those feelings, it's temporary. It's not, I always say, this too shall pass. It's not permanent. It's just everybody has emotions and feelings, and it's really about just being aware and recognizing and not beating yourself up because something like that's happening.
And this too shall pass, as they say. And every time we go through something, we just look back and go, hey, good for you. You stepped into your strength, you stepped into your courage. And every time you do that, whenever you're facing something else, you go, I've got this. I just pushed the courage button.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And mental health is something that is a huge stigma in conversation. We're seeing more and more now of it on the media where we're talking about it. But it was anytime you had any form of mental challenge whatsoever, it was a sign of weakness. A flaw in you. You were damaged, and
Mm-hmm.
we were totally changing that way of thinking because there's hardly anybody out there that hasn't got some form of mental challenge in some form or way, and we really have to take the stigma out of it and understand why do we have so many mental challenges. Is it something that's societal, the societal expectation on us? Is it the chemicals that we are constantly around? Is it the environment? Is it just the sheer pressure or the hate that's out there? All of that can pile up, and anybody who is considered sane and normal, can be thrown off kilter, never mind anybody who's actually dealing with something. How have
Mm-hmm.
you found that in your
Well,
practice?
I think you nailed it when you said like the society, how people, I would say in the last 25 years, it's been really stigmatized and how people see that as a weakness,
Yeah.
or if someone had depression, it was a character flaw.
Mm-hmm.
There's something wrong with them. I mean, just speaking from my own experience, my dad growing up in high school, like I would remember him like going into the bedroom and I would hear him crying. And I'm like, what is wrong? This is like my dad who runs a construction company and
Mm.
is, big solid guy. And I never understood that. And then my parents, like, it was like we wouldn't talk about it.
Mm.
Nothing. I didn't know why he was doing that. And then in high school, I was a sophomore the first time that he tried to take his life. And I remember coming home from school and seeing like fire trucks and ambulances in the driveway and going, like, what is going on? And I go in and they're taking him out on the gurney to go to the hospital. And my mom tells me that he mixed up his medications
Mm-hmm.
and that they have to take him to pump his stomach. And I was like it didn't sit right with me at that
Right.
time. I remember those butterflies in my stomach. Like, that sounds different. I didn't know what to make of it. Go to the hospital. Thankfully, they were able to put charcoal in his stomach, pump his stomach, and then he was going to a special hospital for 72 hours. And I was like, everything was, like, it was just weird, right? I didn't,
Under the rug, cloak and dagger, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then, I mean, I was my first experience of a psychiatric hospital.
How old were you?
I was a sophomore in high school. So I think I was like 15 the
Mm-hmm.
first time. Yeah. And then when he came home after being at this interesting hospitals, I mean, the people that I saw in there, we would be sitting at the dinner table, eating our food, like nothing has happened. Like we're just back to
Yeah.
normal and we're just going to carry on. And that was the first experience I had of like significant like mental health issues. And my whole high school, it was always swept under the rug. He tried again to take his life when I was a senior in high school. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely talked way more about now. I mean, there's still plenty of people that are suffering in silence because they don't think it's okay to talk about, or they feel flawed, or there's something wrong with them that there's nothing that they can do. But it's really important that we not just raise awareness for
Yeah.
mental health and wellness, because I think people are aware there's a
Yes.
problem, but the more important thing is about taking action. Like if you see someone or somebody that is struggling, reach out to them and be compassionate and be understanding, do something. Don't just be like, oh yeah, I know we're being aware, but like being aware is not enough.
Right. But it's also be careful what you do. My IBS comes from fibromyalgia, so it's part and parcel with that. And, when I used to go over to visit my son, it would be, Mum, you need to do this, you need to do that. And all of it was coming from concern for my health, of managing my health. And then just one day I just grabbed him by the hand and said, stop trying to fix me because you make me feel broken.
Oh.
Just simply put your arms around me and tell me you love me. That's the medicine I need. As you don't understand my disease. Even I have challenges with my disease. And your suggestions are not the solution to my disease. And you make me feel that something's wrong with me, right? Other than, because for me, the disease I have is a challenge that I walk around with. It doesn't define me. It is not me. It's just something that's attached to me that wants to go with me, right? But it is one thing we have to be very careful around people with any form of challenge, because fibromyalgia causes depression and everything else, because it's always the chemistry in the body that's going wrong, is we want to make sure that we say the right things. Or sometimes it's just simply to say, I know you're going through something hard right now. Please know I'm there for you.
Yes. No, I mean, that is more than enough.
Yeah.
Like that I see, like, let me know if you ever want to talk
Yeah.
or anything, because yeah, I mean,
if you've got a good friend, you can say, hey, I know you're just down at the moment, but I'm taking you for lunch. We're going to cheer you up. And they may protest. I don't want to go. No, come on. I don't care if you're in your sweats, right? And just go in and show them something else outside of themselves, because it's so easy to get so trapped inside yourself and you don't know your way out.
inside, yeah, our
Yes.
thoughts take
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. And believe me, when these get on a roller coaster, those thoughts, they can talk you into doomsday.
Oh yeah.
Easily. Fast track. So I think what the awareness that we're talking about with mental health is being aware that there are these issues out there, but on how to talk to people with various things. And sometimes you don't know what they have or what they're dealing with, and they may not even know it. Is it depression because of COVID? Is it depression because the chemical imbalance in the body? Is it something they're going through right now? We don't know what it is. We're not the doctor, but we can be the supporter. And just sometimes, I know you need a hug today, right? And it's the simple things that they may even pull away from you, but don't be offended by that. Is because you're taking them from a tornado of emotions, and a hug is really wonderful, but it's also a bit foreign to them at that time, right? So I think that we should see in schools training around mental health and the do's and the don'ts, and what really is supportive and what isn't.
Yeah, it's and sometimes you don't even know.
No, sometimes there isn't a label.
Yeah, no, I have my sister-in-law, my youngest sister-in-law, wasn't taking any medications, nothing. She was the life of the party, energetic, everything. And she took her own life.
And it's that spare of the moment despair that comes crashing down. And generally, when you do see people that are over the top life, who never seem to have a down day, that is can be a trigger too, because it's like, is this a facade covering something else up? Right. So, but, again, we're not here to diagnose, we're here to just support, but it's also recognizing red flags. But, that gut access, I know that you're taking nutrients now that have found that equilibrium between your gut and your brain. And really, yes, it's what we eat. It's managing our anxiety, but it's very much about what is going to get all the neurons firing properly in the body. And we really don't have the time to kind of meditate 50 hours a day doing that. It's
right.
We have lives and people who, rely on us. So, there is always an answer and nutrient answers that can address that, because if we're not paying attention to the brain, or if the brain is off kilter, it affects the rest of the body. And if the stomach is off kilter, it's going to affect the brain, which will then affect the rest of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a vicious cycle. So balance is what we're needing, isn't it? And the nutrients are the ones that do that. So tell us about the nutrients that you found that have brought about that balance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you talked about like the neurotransmitters, like the dopamine and the
Mm.
serotonin, or most of it is made in the gut. So, optimizing the gut brain axis improves the production of those neurotransmitters. Um, One of the key ingredients in the supplement I take for my brain is pomegranate extract.
Mm-hmm.
That's just really, really good for focus and clarity. The product for the access in between is a certain form of mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
So that just like optimizes the signals
Is
of
that
helping.
cordyceps mushrooms?
I can't remember offhand. It might be shiitake mushroom.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But it is mushroom blend, and it helps the gut communicate with the brain. So they're just all natural. A lot of them are ancient
Yes.
ingredients. You know what I mean? They've been around for years and years and years. And Amare, the company that I'm with, is the first company to like put all of these together like in a coordinated system. So you have the product for the gut, and that one has like different strains of bacteria that are specific to mental wellness. So my customers always say, "Oh, but I have the best probiotic from Whole Foods." And I said that can be good and all, and it's helping, but these probiotics are designed specifically for mental wellness. So they're designed for like lowering anxiety, lowering stress levels, even works on inflammation, because a lot of inflammation comes from our gut as well. So yeah, so Amari's put the whole system together, the gut, the access in between, and then the brain.
And that's what you need is something that pays attention to the system, because when we're looking at something wrong, we're very good in society of putting the band-aid on the sore, but not addressing where the sore came from. It's what is the core root of the problem, and very often it is simply the imbalance that is
Right.
going on, right?
Yeah, and this is literally like by addressing your gut, you're getting to the root cause. It's not like pharmaceuticals where, you feel anxiety, so they're going to give you a band-aid
Yeah.
so you don't feel the anxiety.
But the problem is
And
still there, manifesting, getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
yeah, it doesn't address the problem.
No.
It just masks the symptoms.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
ironically, I don't know if you saw my bio too. Ironically, I came from pharmaceuticals. I
Yes.
worked for
Yes.
Pfizer for like 10 years. So I'm like going from pharmaceuticals to nutraceuticals.
You're right. And so you worked with Pfizer, which, of course, is kind of the number one vaccine out there right now, which is a shortage. We've run out of it here and having to go to different vaccines for the second shot because we're not getting enough. The thing about pharmaceutical, everything has its place, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are drugs that we do need that are all based on botanical sources, right? And then they chemicalize everything. But we shouldn't have to be kind of the reliant on the drug, we should be trying on the other things. Now, certain times, yes, you need it. I have an antidepressant, which I take now and again if I need it, if I feel, the rabbit hole is opening up. And I know that it's there to help close that down. But I don't want to become dependent on it. So again, it's what can you nutritionally do to sustain your body so that you don't have to go to the pharmaceutical. And if you do have to have a balance, like an asthma pump, I have to have that. They haven't found anything to replace that. Then it's okay. But it's not shoving, 30 different chemical pharmaceutical drugs in your body that probably all don't like each other in the body and
Yeah.
are busy fighting, and you're wondering why you're having a reaction. So
Yeah,
genuinely
definitely. I mean,
find,
pharmaceuticals have their place. Like if
yeah,
you get like pneumonia or
yes,
really bad infection, you'll be grateful that the pharmaceutical companies are around. And
right,
I've been grateful for that because I do take a mood stabilizer for my bipolar. And
right,
if it weren't for that, like I would
yes,
not be able to function.
right. So everything has its place. But if we can nutritionally take care of our bodies, we're not dependent on the pharmaceutical, which I know pharmaceutical companies don't want to hear that. But, as I had a wonderful woman that worked until 82 on my network, 5 years she worked with this Wise Health, mountain of wonderful information still accessible here. And she used to call herself snake oil woman, because back in the 60s when she started, it was kind of woo-woo stuff. And she calls it God's pharmacy. And that, everything that is nutritional and the nutrients that we take is all God's pharmacy. And that for whatever disease is there, God has a cure for it planted over here. And it's just finding that balance, isn't it? Because it's all about the balance. What is going to equalize your body so it can run up to optimum? And you're like, you talked about inflammation. Fibromyalgia it's an inflammatory disease, and everything is inflamed. And so keeping that inflammation down is absolutely essential. But people don't realize inflammation is probably a huge part of many, many diseases that people have and they don't know about.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So much pain in the body, back pain, neck pain. It's all inflammation. And even our immune system, like 80% of our immune system is in the gut. So
we've got to respect our guts more.
I know. Trust. Oh, I have a shirt that says trust your gut. And then I have one that says happiness. It's a gut feeling.
Right. And I'm always talking about the soul speaking through the gut. When you have that gut reaction, I don't know why I know, but I know. I call that the knowingness, and it comes through the gut to the heart to resonate in truth, into the spirit interaction, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. That's trusting the gut.
Absolutely. I love that.
So our gut is working goddamn hard for us.
Yes, it is. Might as well take good care of it and feed it all the right nutrients.
Yes, right. And that is the food and the nutrients, because we could eat an extremely healthy diet, but it's just the exterior stress levels of life or chemicals that are around us or anything else that can throw you off kilter. So the other nutrients that you're taking are just there to kind of rebalance things and make sure that food's being digested properly and that it's going where it's going and it's wasting where it's meant to waste. And the inflammation is down. And if we can find that happy marriage between good food, a positive attitude, and nutrients that can help us have that equilibrium, then we can really have a very, very well balanced life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's where it's at. You take good care of your body and your body will take care of you.
The thing you've got to remember, folks, this is the only vessel you have in this lifetime.
Yep.
You can't trade this car in for something else. Right? And, you may go and get some panel beating done or, have parts replaced, but ultimately this is your vehicle.
One and only, and only.
So look after it, respect it. And, when you look at the way people abuse it, with either, with drugs, with alcohol, with food, with stress, we take our bodies and abuse our bodies and then wonder why our body lets us down.
So true. Yeah. For me, I think it's the food. I can definitely, I don't know, I would say upgrade some. I'm not eating as clean as I want to, basically. Right. There's always room for improvement.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a 6 veggie a night person. You can take my meat, you can take all of that. Don't touch my veggies. I love my veggies. It's finding out that food that agrees with you, and as you said, eat smaller meals through the day instead of one big meal, which then your poor gut has got to work overtime in order to digest.
Right.
So, and if you can, go for a walk after you've had a meal, if you can, right? So all these little things, but that nutritional balance, a lot to do with IBS is not what necessarily you eat. It is a misfiring of the brain, of the body, the brain going into a panic of, speaking to the gut and causing the gut to go into an upset. So this is why keeping stress level is very, very necessary. It isn't, the diet, because my diet can be exactly the same and I can have an attack. So it's where's my stress level?
Yeah, and
It's
also
like,
focusing on movement because
yes,
exercise is so good to reduce stress. Kicks in all those endorphins and
yeah,
really
yeah.
good for you.
Yeah, I'm too many hours a day at the computer, and I've got one of these massage things on my feet, the balls
Oh,
that go around. So I do that
nice.
every day, and that's good for the circulation. So if you are stuck behind a desk, because so many people are now, behind the computer for work or anything, it's like get up and move around, even if it's to go to the bathroom, grab a drink of water or whatever, and try, various things that can get your body circulation going, because I found that really was a big problem. So we need to do that. Our physical health is going to affect our mental health. Our mental health is going to affect our physical health. There is no divide.
There's no divide, but I often ask my audience or ask people like what comes first, mental health or physical health? And I'm a firm believer that mental health does, because when we are mentally healthy and balanced and in a good spot, we end up taking care of our physical health better. But if we're not in a good place mentally and we're struggling, you know what I mean? It's a little bit sometimes, or at least for me, I just don't make good choices.
Mm. Right. When you're down or depressed or just disconnected, um, you don't make good choices, but you're off kilter. I had a brain tutor on here the other day, and she was talking about retraining the brain to find its equilibrium and fire, because we talk about programming a great deal and getting rid of old programming, because you're carrying that virus around. Where you get rid of old programming so new programming can come in that's more productive for you. But the brain is the mechanics of the body, and if it's out of kilter, then it throws the whole body out of kilter. So it's very, very essential that we kind of look to the brain and what nutrients does it need to be firing properly. And then, what other nutrients are we putting into our gut that we're being friendly to the gut because of all the work it does. Look at all the work that it does for us,
I
right?
know.
It's a huge amount of work, and it's working 24/7, folks. It doesn't stop, right? Our brain shuts off supposedly when we sleep. It goes off into its own twilight zone, but the poor little gut is still working for you. So we need to be kinder to the gut. So tell us about these nutrients that you are actually taking that have actually changed your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's simple. It's supplements for the gut brain axis. There's a product for the gut that I was alluding to that is a probiotic, prebiotic, phytobiotic, and a digestive blend. So it is a powerful supplement and basically four supplements in one. And it's a powder. I just put it in my coffee every morning. And then I take the supplement for the brain called Mentafocus, and that one is for clarity, cognition, memory, just focus, things like that. And then the other product is the Menta Sync, which helps sync my gut to the brain. So there's all that communication is going on from the gut to the brain, not the other way around.
Mm.
And then I take some other ones, but my main ones are this other one called Mood Plus. And Mood Plus is it's like an all natural anti-anxiety, antidepressant that has ashwagandha, rafuma, kenna, just like really calming ingredients, lowers tension, lowers stress, balances the mood by increasing serotonin. So that's kind of like the bread and butter of what I take, but I also take, multivitamin and different things like that. And we have protein shakes. All of the products that I take, they work synergistically
Mm-hmm.
on the gut brain axis. So I stick to one line of supplements because they all kind of team
Complement each
effort.
other.
They all
Yeah.
work they all work together.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, you've reduced your bipolar medicine from being on this,
A lot. Mm-hmm.
right? And it may get to that day where you completely come off it.
That
So,
would be amazing. That would be like a dream come true. I did try to do that in 2015 with not my regular psychiatrist. I found this holistic psychiatrist, but she didn't know my history. Like in 2009, I had a manic episode that kept me in a hospital for 72 days.
mm,
So I had to be really cautious. But like I said, my psychiatrist has seen how well these supplements do work on me. So he's been able to lower them quite a bit.
Right. I mean, when I went into depression down that rabbit hole, it's like I could walk in front of a bus and I wouldn't care, and that despair of, somebody's coming into your gut, just pulling it out. And you're just, what am I doing here? I'm useless. And, you go through the whole thing, right? And it's just, there is no snapping out of it. There is no rationality to it.
No, no.
It's a feeling that so overtakes you. And I eventually found these pills that apparently been around for about 50 years, an extremely low dose. But they bought my equilibrium, and I have not gone down the rabbit hole since. And as I said, I don't need to take them every day. It's just that now and again I can feel a bit stressed today. Take them to kind of keep my equilibrium there. Otherwise, it's into the nutrients. So, everything is, you can get to that stage where your body can now manage itself. But it's good to have those other medicines there for when you do need them, because there is a purpose for them. It's just that we're inclined with pharmaceutical to overdo the pharmaceutical.
Yeah. And no, there was a time like back in 2007, 2008, this psychiatrist, he had me on like 5 or 6 different medications. I don't even know how I did it, because like a lot of them were like so sedating.
Yes. And zombie. You're a walking dead.
Yeah, but for me, I was so good at putting on a show. Like I was so happy. I was working my job at Pfizer, driving my company car in my tailored suit, like putting it all together. But on the inside, I was like a hot mess.
Yeah. And that's what you see so often, like your sister-in-law, the facade, people think, you see those commercial, depression hurts. And you're seeing everybody like this, and then take this pill, but side effect may cause suicide. I just can't watch those anymore. And I've noticed they're not around actually anymore, right? Which is
right.
Yeah, but they think that everybody who's walking around that's depressed is totally switched off and detached and unable to speak. So many people that have mental problems, that the anxiety is, the facade of them is completely, nobody ever thought I had depression. And it's just because I'm still doing what I'm doing and everything else, and nobody saw that.
Right.
What's going on inside? So we don't always see the evidence of it, right? No. But you don't know what's going on inside of someone. So, sometimes if you're feeling a little something, and this is where I want to be, this comes up in every show, and it's like
I love
the beach
that.
and the breeze and the trees. Yeah, that's where I would like to be. So be gone in a moment. It's my flash of hope.
I love it.
I think that's actually kind of a point, though. Sometimes we get so bogged down in every day that we don't project forward of where you would like to go, what you would like to do, or even transforming your whole psyche there. And just having a moment at the beach with the breeze, in your mind, and you can kind of feel the water on your feet, and it can calm you down, right? So, but depression and anxiety and bipolar and manic depressant and all of these type of things, they are here. And we need to deal with them. And the stigma, the persecution, the shame, and the blame that we've put on people. And of course, back in the day, you showed anything and you were thrown into an institution. This actually how men got rid of their wives, by saying they had hysteria. That's where hysterectomy comes from, is that women had hysteria. They gave her hysterectomy so that hysteria would be gone.
Oh my God.
So women weren't allowed any emotions whatsoever without receiving a label on an institution. So, and that, goes up to kind of the 60s. So, not so long ago.
Well, I think now too, I mean, there's a stigma with like having to go to the doctor for anxiety or depression. And like nowadays, there's so much stuff outside of mainstream that's actually disrupting regular healthcare. Yeah. Supplements, eating healthy, doing yoga or qigong, or all of these different things. It's becoming more accepting to talk about it. And people are seeing that there's solutions besides taking a Zoloft or a Prozac.
Yes.
Like there are other solutions that can really, really help.
Yeah. This also should be under my other show title of Your Health is Your Choice, because it is. Our health is our choice. We may not know what is wrong with us. Go and get your diagnosis. But after that, do your research of what can help you, and try various things until you find that thing that works. You have found the nutrients that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is your harmony. This is your orchestra,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're all playing beautifully, and so they keep you equilibrium there. But we have to be willing not just to put all the burden on the doctors who only see you for 2 minutes and don't have the entire history, right? But we have to take that onus of listening to podcasts, listening to TED Talks, looking at various companies out there, listening to testimonies and going, okay, I'm willing to try. And if you really want good health, mind, body, spirit, whole body health, you really need to be willing to do the research of what's going to work for you and try it. So people can go to your company and they can try these nutrients and see how it works for them. The other thing is, I tried it once and it didn't work. No, your body recycles every 3 months. So you need to be on something for 3 months for it to kick out what's not working and make something work for you to really truly see the benefits of it. So you've got to be on something for 3 months. And if it's a total negative reaction, that's a totally different thing. But your body is going to go through adjustments, and allow your body to adjust it and give it 3 months to see where the difference is, right? Because it's not going to be an overnight sensation.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tell all my clients anyways. I say, you got to give me 90 days of
Yes.
consistency.
Yes.
You got to do it every day because, your gut didn't become damaged overnight. So it's not going to be fixed overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. And, while you're doing that nutritionally in your body, at the same time, look at your lifestyle and going, okay, what can I get rid of that's causing me stress that I simply do not need anymore?
So true.
So there's a partnership there, there's a partnership between the nutrients in your body and you looking at your body and going, I'm going to clean house and, get rid of any of the mental anxieties. And that can be people, that can be a job, that can be just a certain lifestyle you have. And then just say, I'm going to change it because this is no longer serving me. There is no one magic pill that cures everything, is there?
No, there is no one magic anything.
No.
I used to get that all the time because I used to do a lot of speaking in our community. And then people would say, well, like, what do you take for your bipolar? And I said, what works for me is not going to work always for someone else. So
yeah. And that comes into a partnership with ourselves. As I said, I have a partnership with my fibromyalgia. Sometimes it taps me on the shoulder and says, I need attention, and I've got to give it attention. Other times it works with me because we've found an equilibrium. So, whatever you have, like you with the bipolar, you need to take that medication, but you also know your warning signs. When I'm pushing too far, I can't take that. It's a warning, pay attention. And it's being in sync with your body and your mind, your heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we abstain a great deal from our own health.
Yes. And we have to be responsible for our own health because we can't rely on doctors or anyone else. Really important, like you said, when you know your fibromyalgia is acting up, it's time to address it and do what you need to do.
Otherwise, it's going to be the wackaroo. Right? And who wants to go there? When you can just pause for a moment, pay attention to what your body needs or your mind needs at the time. Pay attention to it, love it, nurture it, give it what it needs. It's going to be there for you. But if you ignore it, it's going to end up consuming you and flattening you and making much harder time to recover. Okay, so the site that you have for people in order to get this nutrient, can you give us that site, love? And I know that you have a particular number after it, which will mean that it comes from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you going to put that in the show notes? Or
yes, it's in the show notes. If you want to, for the people that are listening by audio, it's www.myameglobal.com/39488/ENUS. And that will be the whole number. It's going to be here on the YouTube. It's also on the show page, folks. All you have to do is go to selfdiscoverymedia.com and put in Krista Sammie, Sammie, and you'll get all the links there. But understand also you've got more information here. You can get hold of you at LinkedIn at Krista Sammie, and Krista is K-R-I-S.
Yeah, it's a K. And then Sammie is Sammie. Sammie,
Oh,
Sammie.
Sammie, right. So,
Yes.
and that's the same for Facebook. They can catch you there on Facebook as well.
Mm.
And, you've heard what you need to do today, and you found an answer with this company. It's become your balance. It's become your equilibrium. And whoever's listening, you don't know if it's going to be your balance or not unless you're willing to try it. So, give it a go and allow that 3 months, that 90 days, and see for yourself. You'll know. And if you really want to be diligent about it, take down notes every day of how you feel. Did you have bloating, or did you have brain fog? Did you have this, that? Is it clearing? And then you can go back on their notes and you can see where the improvement is. And you can also just feel it in your lifestyle. And believe me, your friends will notice. Your friends will notice. They'll always be the one, what are you doing? Right? So, and give it a try. It's worked for you, right? With your bipolar, with your anxiety, with your gut, with everything else. And it's all about that, brain gut axis. And the whole beautiful thing about it is we are a whole body. We're a whole body, and we need to address the whole body. And when we take care of two things, we take care of everything.
Yeah, Hippocrates, there's a quote that says, all disease begins in the gut.
Mm. Yes, my Suma Nathan from Wise Health, my little wonderful little snake oil woman, she would say the most important organs are the colon, the liver, and the kidneys. Because if they're out of sorts, they send everything out of sorts. And so, yeah, we don't look after our gut, folks. Please think about that greasy burger you're putting in your stomach. And, is your stomach really designed well in digesting that? And how much grease is kind of lining the stomach lining there? And it's just, there's a time to be mindful. And if you want to have a good, long, healthy life, right? So, well, thank you so much for sharing here today, love.
Thanks for having me. Excellent.
Important topic, because people do not associate brain and gut together. And now we know, and it's what are we going to do about it? And we've got the nutritions that have really worked for you, but even just being aware that we need to do something. And also with mental health, when somebody's got something, don't shame them, don't blame them, don't treat them in an awkward thing of like, I don't know how to talk to them. Just go and get to know them on every level, and what they have will come out, and then you can find the conversation where you can say, tell me more about it. But don't think, oh, well, they've got bipolar, I don't know what to say to them. Please don't treat them as an alien, right?
We're all humans here having an experience.
Yes, exactly. Human being having just with a challenge. That's it, right? And we all want to be loved, to be cared for, to be a part of something. So please don't treat them differently. Right. Thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you.
Until next time, folks. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.